Hello students, in this video lesson we are going to review solving equations. Go ahead and copy these two examples, and then once you've done that you can go ahead and press play to continue with the lesson. Okay, so in this lesson we are going to start with two example problems, and we are going to use substitution. Now we're not going to be solving here. In this case what we're being asked to do is if x equals -2 is a solution to this equation. Okay, so I'm not solving, I'm just checking to see that this is true. So all you have to do is whatever you see on x, you substitute that x with the -2. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to bring down that 5 and then minus, and that if x is -2, I want to find out if this is equal to 7. Okay, so we know that we have a negative in front of a negative, and that turns into a positive. So 5 plus 2 equals 7. And we also know that if we add 5 and 2, that gives us 7. So it checks. So the answer to this one is yes, x equals -2 is the solution for this equation. All right, let's do the same thing with this example here. So notice now x is equal to 2/3. Let's see if this is a solution to this equation. Okay, and that will make this a true statement. So then 3, and then instead of x, it's going to be 2/3 minus 2, and we want to know if this is equal to 4, if that's a true statement, if this makes this equation a true statement. So I'm going to write a 1 under that 3, and don't forget this is the same thing as 3. 3 divided by 1 is still 3, but that will help me see what's going to happen here. So 3 times 2 is going to give me 6, and 1 times 3 is going to give me 3. But 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, and we know that 2 minus 2 is 0, and we also know that 0 is not equal to 4. So the answer to this one is no. This x equals 2/3 is not a solution to this equation. All right, now please don't get confused with this, okay, and solving. Next, I'm going to give you examples for solving. The rest of the lesson is going to cover solving equations. Okay, so I'm going to show you the 3 examples on this page, but I'm going to give you more examples on the second page. So for now, just copy those problems, and then once you're ready, just pause the video, copy, and then once you're ready, just press play. All right, so in algebra, when we solve, what we're trying to do is we're trying to isolate the variable, okay? And usually we have the variable on the left, and in this case we have 5x plus 9 equals 4. So let's try to isolate the 5x's first. We see that we have a plus 9. We do the opposite of plus 9, which is minus 9. And don't forget, in algebra, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So then that will give us the 5x by itself, and 4 minus 9, that's a -5. Last step, this is saying multiply 5 times x. I'm going to do the opposite, which is I'm going to divide. So then we find that x equals -1 is the solution to this equation. Okay, let's go on to the next example. So this one, notice that we have 2x plus 3 equals x minus 7. So now we have variables on both sides of the equation. I like to keep the variables on the left, so I'm going to subtract this x from this side and also from these two x's. So once I do that, I'm left with just 1x plus 3 equals, these cancel, so I just have -7 left on the right hand side. Next, I'm trying to isolate the x, so I'm going to subtract this 3 from both sides of the equation. So in the end, when I add -7 and -3, when I combine them, I end up with -10. And -10 is the solution to this equation. All right. Next example. Notice we're getting more advanced here. This is getting more challenging. Okay. So this one is saying not just solve, but we're going to use the distributive property first, and then we'll simplify whatever we need to simplify, and then we'll end up solving the equation. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to distribute this 3 to the x. So that gives me 3x, and 3 times negative 2, that's going to turn into a negative 6. And we have a 6 outside of the parentheses, so plus 6 equals, now distribute this 4 to the 2, that turns into an 8. And 4 times the negative x is going to be negative 4x. Now, negative 6 and positive 6, they cancel out. So I just have 3x equals 8 minus 4x. Now, again, I like to keep the variables on the left. This is negative 4x, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 4x, but I'm also going to do it to this side. So then 3x plus 4x, that becomes 7x. And then we have just 8 on this side, so 7x equals 8. Last step. This is multiplication, so I'm going to divide multiplication because this is 7 times x, so I'm going to divide by 7 to isolate the x. And in the end, we find that x is equal to 8 over 7. And this is the solution to this equation. Now, on the next few examples, like I said, it's going to get a little bit more challenging, but I'm going to give you strategies to help you make it easier and simpler for you. Okay? So I'm going to flip to the next page and then show you what I have there. This is the second page on the notes. Okay, so watch, this one says solve. So we just did solving on the previous page, the last 3 examples. And now we're going to multiply by LCD first. Now, there's a reason I'm telling you to do this, because this will make it easier. Okay, whenever you have a fraction in an equation, you want to try to make it as easy as possible for yourself to be able to solve the equation in the least amount of time possible. So for this one here, on the previous video lesson, you watched the lesson on adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. So that's going to come in handy with this part of the lesson today. So notice this has a 4 in the denominator. This 5 has a 1. This 2 has a 1 also. So we want to have the same denominator in all of them. So what we're going to do is we are going to get rid of this denominator. So we're going to multiply by the LCD. The LCD in this case is 4. So this is what I mean by multiply by the LCD. So I'm going to multiply all of this side of the equation by 4. But I'm also going to do it to this side. So I'm still following the rules of algebra. But what happens here is 1, and I'm going to write a 1 so you can see this, okay? This 4 over 1 is the reciprocal of 1 over 4, which means we're just left with x, okay? Because they reduce to 1, but 4 times 5 turns into a 20. And then this is 4 times negative 2, so that's going to be negative 8. Now, we're almost done here. See how simple that is? You're not having to deal with the fraction. Now it's just whole numbers. The next step is subtract 20. So in this case, negative 8 minus 20, that's going to be negative 28. Now, you might not realize this, okay? But if we do this the usual way, we would have to divide by 1/4. So 1/4 divided by 1/4. And that just sometimes can get complicated for students. So if you've learned to do it this way, that's going to be the easiest way and the fastest way to solve equations. Let's go on to the next example. Notice this one here, you have 2/3, okay? So that means we have a 3 in the denominator, so we need to have a 3 on this one, and that one. But to avoid that, what we do is we multiply by what we have on this denominator, and also we have to do it to this side of the equation. So we have a 3, okay? So then this 3 and that 3, they're going to reduce, leaving us with just 2x, and then 3 times negative 1, that's going to be a negative 3. And I also have to multiply by 3 on this side. So 3 times x is going to give me 3x, and 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. Okay, so if you need to pause the video and just watch what I did here, go ahead and do that. Okay, because I know this one might not be easy to do, but if you can't see it, just pause the video, kind of try to understand what happened here, and then press play to continue. So once I have this already in just whole numbers, I'm going to subtract the 3x's from both sides of the equation. So then I have negative x minus 3 equals 15. Now I'm going to add that 3. Okay, so I have negative x equals, this is positive 18, but I don't want negative x, I want positive x. So I'm going to divide by a negative 1, and that makes the x positive. So then x equals negative 18. And that is the solution to this equation. Okay, let's go on to the next example. So let's do this one here. Watch on this one. See, we have a 5 and we have a 10. So what's the least common denominator of 5 and 10? The answer is 10. So that means we're going to multiply this side by 10 and this one by 10. And let's see this one here also. Okay, don't forget, we can simplify this one because 5 goes into 10 2 times. So this will become a 2 and this is a 1, right? This one here, this one would be, this simplifies and that simplifies to 1. So that means we only have, we distribute the 2 to the x into the negative 9. So that will give you 2x minus 18 equals, and now we get rid of that 10. So it's just negative 4x minus 8. So see how the fractions went away? And now this is much simpler to work with. So then I'm going to add the 4x's here and also on this side. So then this will be 6x minus 18 equals negative 8. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 18 to both sides of the equation. So then I have that 6x equals negative 8 plus 18. That's going to be 10. Next step and will be divide by 6. Okay, so then we have that x equals 10 over 6. But remember your answers have to be in simplest form. So I know that 5 goes into 2 goes into 10 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So then this simplifies to 5 thirds. Did I? Yeah, 5 thirds. So this will be the answer to that equation, the solution to that equation. Okay, so there's a solution. Now, the last example, okay, this is where many students forget. This is a simple one because all you have to do is divide by 5, but this is where many students struggle. What is 0 divided by 5? Right? 0 divided by 5 is 0. So the solution to this equation is x equals 0. I hope this helps you for the assignment. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email, send me a remind message or a Canvas message. All right? Until the next time.